In today's episode, I'm going to share the 7 steps to building a 70k HR consultancy and how you can do it in under an hour a day. No more feast or famine, no more wondering if you should go back to the 9 to 5, and no more accepting any and every client or project that crosses your desk. Instead, you'll have a plan to get the security and confidence of a market-leading HR consultancy, a HR consultancy that generates cash and leads while you're lunching with friends, and a HR consultancy that your peers are jealous of and demand to know what your secret is. So stay tuned, because we'll get into all this and more. This is the Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultants podcast, a show to help independent HR consultants get a pipeline of perfect fit, high-paying clients without expensive adverts, time-consuming social media activities, or energy-sapping and monotonous networking meetings. I'm your host, Nick Paninsky, author of How to Land Your Dream Client, a book which explains everything you need to know to get every sale and client you ever want. And if that sounds interesting, then make sure to grab your copy from the influential consultant website today. That being said, let's get into today's show. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultants with me, Nick Paninsky. Today's episode is going to be a huge one, so I don't want to waste too much of your time with a standard preamble, but I did want to share that last week I was at the HR Independence Conference hosted by Mary and Charlotte, and it was absolutely fantastic. Really great event, learned so much, met some great people. And we had an expert talking about ChatGPT, which was, fascinating stuff. Other than that, next week, I've got the HR Consultants Pipeline Playbook Workshop. So hopefully I will see you there for that. I'm currently working with a client on building her own pipeline. So exciting stuff everywhere you look. Other than that, not much else to report, but we are heading into winter and it is grim and wet. So, such is England, hey? Anyway, enough about that. On to today's episode, how to build a HR consultancy in under an hour a day. Now, first things first, I just want to share the math of how you can build a 70k HR consultancy and how you can do it in under an hour a day. So, let's understand what that means, and then we can start to understand what it is that you need to do to build said HR consultancy. So a 70k HR consultancy, it might sound like a far-off dream, right? Some of you listening along might be thinking, bloody hell, that's crazy. But the math is actually pretty simple for this one. So it actually breaks down to about £270 a day. Now, admittedly, this is over the course of a 52-week year, so I haven't left any gaps for holidays. But even if we allow for, let's say, a 6-week holiday, then the math changes to £305 a day. So an uplift of just £35 a day. And does that sound achievable? Could you earn £300 a day? I hope so, because, the reality is that's £50 an hour for a 6-hour work day. Does that sound achievable? Because that's how you build a 70k HR consultancy. And if you have associates working for you, then that's how you build a 140k HR consultancy. That's how you build a 210k HR consultancy. It works out to £50 an hour, £300 a day. So, is it possible? I'm not saying that you need to charge £50 per hour and work 6 hours. What I am saying is that's how the math breaks down. I understand that you will be doing projects, that you will be doing retainers, that you will earn this £50 per hour in a myriad of different ways. But what I am saying is I'm breaking down the math for you. 70k seems like a big goal. So let's break it down into much more manageable chunks. It's £50 an hour. So it's not that much money, really. I hope. The next promise is doing this in an hour a day. Now, admittedly, building a 70k HR consultancy, it is going to take work. No one's going to come along and do it for you. No one's going to save you. You have to save you. But if you're prepared to put the work in, then you can start to earn 70k or more. The only difficulty you've got is what to do with this hour a day, right? And that's what we're going to get into today. But firstly, when I say an hour a day, let me justify how this is possible. Yeah, I'm not talking about an hour a day for your client work and for your business development, for your marketing, for your sales, etc. I'm talking an hour a day for your marketing and your sales activities. So your client work, not something I can talk about. I don't know what you're working on. I don't know what kind of projects you've got, etc., etc. But when I say an hour a day, I mean an hour's worth of marketing and sales. So yeah, let me justify how that's possible. Can you make a phone call in an hour to a prospective client? Can you send out a letter? Can you send out more than one phone call, more than one letter, right? Can you do some research on the top 10 business owners who you want to work with and then send them something remarkable in the post to grab their attention? Of course you can, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to do all these things. I'm not saying that you have to make cold calls. I'm not saying that you have to send out direct mail or lumpy mail or any of these things. But what I am saying is that when you have a plan and a strategy of lead gen and client acquisition, you may find that an hour a day is more than enough to start building a 70K HR consultancy. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you knew what you were doing if you started earning more than 70K, because it is as simple as, this is how I'm going to start earning 70K. This is how I'm going to start doing it. Let's break down those steps. Let's put them into action. So yeah, now those big promises have been explained and you understand the math of what I'm talking about, let's get into the nitty gritty of what you actually need to do to build a 70K HR consultancy. So step one of building a 70K HR consultancy, tell me if you've heard this one before, it is choosing a target market. Because yeah, let's start with that crucial question that is the cornerstone of all marketing. Whose problems are you solving? Because this is the foundation of all your marketing efforts. Marketing isn't just about telling people you exist. It's about convincing them that you can solve their specific problems. And here's the challenge. If you don't know whose problems you're solving, how can you expect to communicate clearly that you can solve them? You can't, right? You're going to lack clarity in your target market, and then therefore you're going to tend to cast a wide net, hoping to appeal to anyone who might need HR support. Now, here's the problem. When you try to speak to everyone, you end up speaking to no one. Your messaging becomes too broad, too generic. And instead of connecting with your ideal clients, you put out vague, forgettable messages that get lost in the noise. And this is exactly what happens when HR consultants say that they work with SMEs. It sounds like a focused audience on the surface, right? But in reality, it's too broad, it's too generic. SMEs cover a huge range of industries, business sizes, and needs. So lumping them together, that means that you're not really speaking to anyone in particular. Now, I know that many HR consultants say that they work with SMEs, but here's the thing. This is often the biggest mistake that they can make, and let me explain why. Now, your thought process might be, everyone else is doing it, so why wouldn't I, right? It's safe. There's a lot of SMEs out there. That means more opportunity. Let me highlight my upcoming workshop in October. This free 3-day workshop will help you build your very own lead gen pipeline into your HR consultancy. We'll cover why no one cares about your marketing and how to change that, why your lead gen sucks and what to do instead, why your leads don't become clients and what to do about it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You're going to get resources, templates and instructions and insights to help you build your very own sales funnel so you can kiss feast or famine goodbye. There'll also be Q&As to go through anything and everything you're unsure about, and it's all going to be live and on demand. Now, if you want to find out any more about this free event, check out the link on my LinkedIn or go direct to my website. And make sure to register ASAP if you're interested because spaces are limited. What's more, this is a no-pitch event. I'll share some details about potentially working with me, but that'll be at the very end of the workshop and it'll be very low-key. Every other second will be value, value, value. So make sure to grab your ticket today at the Influential Consultant website or via my LinkedIn. See you there. And that seems logical. But here's the catch. If targeting SMEs was the key to building a successful HR consultancy, that you can control that generates 70K or more, then every HR consultant out there would be thriving, right? But they're not, are they? And the reason for that is that SMEs mean different things to different people. They're not a market that you can turn up and serve and convince that you can solve their problems. And if you want to break that cycle, you need to get specific. You need to find a focused target audience, and then you need to serve them with laser-like precision. And when you narrow down your audience, several things happen. Firstly, your marketing becomes focused and impactful. When you know exactly who you're talking to, you can create messages that resonate deeply with their specific problems and desires. You're no longer writing generic LinkedIn posts or vague emails. You're speaking directly to the challenge of your ideal client faces. Next, it positions you as a specialist, not a generalist. And specialists, they can charge more. They're perceived as experts in solving specific problems. And generalists, on the other hand, they get lost in the noise and often have to compete on price. And third and final, it makes referrals easier. So when your audience knows exactly who you serve, they're much more likely to refer you to the right people. So if you tell someone that you work with SMEs, they're going to struggle to remember you. But if you say that you help healthcare startups with, less than 100 people, then they're going to be, okay, I can remember that. And the next time they encounter a healthcare startup with less than 100 people, in fact, you could just drop off the less than 100 people. You could say that you work with healthcare startups. The next time somebody encounters a healthcare startup, they can be like, oh, a healthcare startup. Stephanie works with healthcare startups. And then people will think of you, they'll think of your business, and they will connect the dots. Now, you might be thinking, but won't I be limiting myself if I narrow down my audience? And actually, the opposite is true. By becoming a specialist, you're giving both yourself and your audience clarity. Think of it like this. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast right now if I worked with any kind of business consultant. If I didn't work with HR consultants specifically, I would get lost in the noise. So my message wouldn't resonate with you as much, and it wouldn't really feel as relevant to your specific needs. Let me give you another example on the flip side to hammer this point home a little bit. Imagine a small healthcare provider is looking for a HR consultant, and they've got two options. First option, a HR consultant who works with SMEs, whose website has generic images of offices, warehouses, people in suits, people doing everyday tasks. Their marketing materials use broad, vague language, and they talk about how they deliver great service and they know their stuff about HR. Or the second option, the HR consultant who specializes in working with SME healthcare providers, whose website features images from hospitals and clinics, and whose marketing speaks directly to the challenges faced by their medical staff and the healthcare organizations. They don't talk about generic HR, they talk about the HR that healthcare professionals are most focused on. Which HR consultant do you think they're going to choose? It's a no-brainer, right? The healthcare-focused consultant will always stand out because their message is tailored specific and relevant, and their images they're all focused on healthcare-related stuff. So that healthcare provider is going to get to that website, see their marketing materials, see their LinkedIn posts, see anything that they send out in the post, and they're going to, the little lights are going to flick on in their brain, and they're going to say, this is the HR consultant for me. So yeah, if you really want to stand out, if you want to start building a 70K or more HR consultancy, it's time to get specific. And if this resonates with you, I encourage you to dive deeper. Check out the other episodes of this podcast. I discuss how to identify, refine your target market, and get to work on finding your niche. Alternatively, or jointly, come along to my workshop next week and spend some time with me in the Q&A, where I talk about this in much greater detail, and then in the Q&A, you can challenge my thinking. The second step in building a 70K HR consultancy is to create messages that capture your audience's attention. Now, I think we can all agree that we live in a world where people have short attention spans. They're shrinking every day. And in fact, I found research that shows that the average human attention span is now shorter than that of a goldfish. It's about 8 seconds. So if you want to grab your audience's attention, your messaging has to be impactful. It has to be concise, direct, and instantly compelling. You don't have time to beat around the bush. You need to grab them by the eyeballs and show them that you understand their problems better than anyone else. So it's not about writing long and elaborate messages for the sake of it. Your messaging has to cut through the noise. Every business is bombarding your audience with emails, ads, and posts. So the challenge for you is to stand out from the crowd. The trick is to focus on your audience's pain points, the things that keep them up all night. Because when you speak directly to their problems, they'll pay attention and they will believe that you have the solution. Now, I'm not going to go into too far a detail to talk about how to create compelling copy. I've done that in some other podcasts. Check them out. But as a quick example, imagine you're scrolling through LinkedIn and there are 2 posts, right? One says, we help businesses streamline their HR processes. Okay. The other one says, are you struggling with high employee turnover? We can show you the 3-step process to keep your best talent from leaving. Which one grabs your attention? It's the second one, right? Because it's more specific, it's more focused on a real problem. It addresses a pain point that a lot of businesses face, and it promises a clear solution. That's what your messaging needs to do. It needs to speak directly to your audience's problems in a way that's hard to ignore. Now, let's go deeper into how you can create these kind of messages. Remember in section 1, we talked about choosing a specific target audience. The more you understand that audience, the better your messaging will be. You need to know them inside out, what their biggest struggles are, what keeps them up all night, what success looks like for them. And this kind of deep understanding is crucial because you can describe someone's problem in detail. And when you know that when someone hears that their problem has been described in detail, they assume that the person knows the solution. Think of it like going to a doctor. When you explain your symptoms, the doctor says, oh, that sounds like tendinitis. You're probably feeling pain when you lift your arm or grip something, right? And then instantly you feel assured, right? The doctor has described your issue so well that you trust that they know how to fix it. And your messaging, it works exactly the same way. When you describe your audience's pain points with precision, they naturally assume that you have the answer. Let's take a look at another quick example. Let's say that you're targeting the small healthcare providers. So instead of saying, we provide HR solutions for healthcare businesses, you could say something along the lines of, frustrated by high absenteeism and burnout in your practice? We help healthcare providers just like you implement HR systems that boost employee well-being and reduce costly turnover. Do you see the difference? It's a crude example. It took me 2 seconds to write it out, but it's a bit more specific about their problems, right? You've hit on a specific, relatable pain point that your audience is experiencing, and you've done it in a way that shows that you understand exactly what they're going through. And because you understand their problem, they're more likely to believe that you know how to solve it. So how do you create these kind of messages? Well, you need to start by asking yourself some key questions. What are your audience's biggest pain points? What do they wish that they could fix? What language do they use to describe their problems? How would solving these problems change their business or their life? What mistakes are they making when they're dealing with their HR stuff? Once you know these answers, you can create messaging that cuts through the noise. You can talk directly to their frustrations, their challenges, and the transformation that they're seeking. So to summarize, it's not just about getting attention, it's about keeping it and then being relevant and valuable with your messaging. Your messaging should act as a mirror that reflects the struggles that your audience is facing. It needs to make them think, wow, Stephanie really gets me. And when they feel understood, they're going to trust that you have the solution. They're going to get in touch with you. The third step when it comes to building a 70k HR consultancy is to develop your service. So when it comes to developing your services, one thing that I see HR consultants repeatedly do is to offer any and every HR service under the sun. And that makes sense, right? Because you can do any and all of these things. But the problem here is that you're positioning yourself as a generalist again. So instead, you should consider limiting your offers. Have a power hour, have a retainer, and then have a signature offer. This streamlines your services and helps people to understand what their options are and removes that analysis paralysis when people get overwhelmed by their options. Equally, a signature offer, it helps you stand out from the crowd and much, much more, as you'll soon see. But let's start off with understanding what a signature offer is, right? And why you need one as a HR consultant. A signature offer, that is a clear, specific service that you become known for. That becomes your go-to package. So this positions you as an expert who solves a specific set of problems, and because of that, you can charge higher fees. So why is this important, having a signature offer? Well, people don't really remember generalists. So if you're offering a wide range of vague services, everything an HR consultant could do, that could apply to any HR consultant, right? And then your message, that gets lost in the noise. But when you focus on a clear solution to a specific problem, that's when you start to stand out. You become the go-to person for that service, and that's how you gain momentum in your business. So if you saw the podcast a few weeks back, I was coaching Ruth. Ruth now has a signature offer. That's what she's working on. She's working on coaching line managers to become line managers. I think we all know that line managers get promoted because they are experts in their field, and then all of a sudden they get given managerial responsibility. Not all of them are have the natural talent for that. Ruth's seen that, and that's what she wants to do. Ruth wants to go out and help organizations make line managers become better line managers. So what could your signature offer look like, right? You could offer, for example, a complete package that solves a big problem for your clients, like a full employee onboarding program. So this would include everything from recruitment, training, compliance, probation, follow-up probation, signing off the probation, performance development plans so that you know where they're getting to, all that good stuff. And that means that new hires get smoothly integrated and up to speed as quickly as possible. It's a complete solution that covers all the steps your client needs to solve their problems. And that makes it more valuable than offering just one piece of the puzzle or, a retainer package or something along those lines. And here's why it works, right? Here's why this is so important. Clients are willing to pay more for complete solutions because it takes away the hassle of figuring out the details for themselves. You've done the thinking for them. You've taken a problem off their plate. And that makes your service very appealing. And it also allows you to charge premium rates. And as I say, it allows you to stand out from the crowd, and it allows you to deliver a very valuable service to your clients. They will love the fact that you are taking a problem off their hands. But there's another advantage. The signature offer lets you focus on the work that you want to do and you enjoy and skip out the parts you don't. So maybe you love doing engagement, reward, all that good stuff, but you aren't keen on disciplinaries and grievances. With a signature offer, you can focus on what you're best at. Of course, if a client who loves your work, they're going to ask for help in other areas, that's potentially going to happen. And at that point, you can choose whether or not to take it or leave it. But the core of your business remains something that's easy to package, easy to talk about, easy to sell, and something that gets you recognized. Think of it like a carpenter, right, who specializes in dining room tables and chairs sets. You'd expect that carpenter's work to be excellent because they do it all the time. It's their specialty. You might also expect to pay a little bit more for that expertise, but you wouldn't mind because you know that you're getting the best, right? You're getting an expert. The same logic applies to you and your HR consultancy. When you have a clear signature offer, you are sending out a message that you are the expert at that service. So you can command higher fees because clients know that they're getting expert level service. Let's give you a real world example. My 12-month membership program, the HR Consultants Complete Client Control Solution, the HRCCCS. I do think I might need to rename that one. But this program, that gives HR consultants every tool they need to build a thriving business that earns 70K or more. So it covers everything we've talked about in this podcast. It ought to cover everything that we're going to talk about in this podcast. Market sales, lead gen, personal development, all that good stuff. And it delivers in a structured, step-by-step way that ensures predictable success. You also get the one-to-one coaching, the 24/7 support, the endless Q&As, the accountability, the community, everything that you need to change your life and the trajectory of your business. If you want to know more about that, then head over to my website. But your key takeaway in all this is to develop your signature service. Think about the complete solution that your clients need. What's the big problem that they face? How can you solve it from start to finish? Your offer should make them think, I need that, not just, oh, I could use that, or, oh, just another HR consultant. And let's not forget, though, before we move on, your service is only as good as you are. So you also need to be the best version of yourself. That means constantly learning, growing, improving your skills. The more you invest in your own development, the more valuable your service becomes to your clients. And this leads to another key point. Self-development, self-improvement is non-negotiable. If you want to build a business that lasts, you have to keep learning, investing in your growth, staying ahead of trends in HR and business. This might mean attending courses, reading the latest research, or even getting coaching for yourself. But the more, because, effectively, the more you learn, the better equipped you'll be to solve your clients' problems in innovative ways and in satisfying ways as well. And the more they will value for it. So to wrap up, remember, having a signature service sets you apart from the rest. It makes your business memorable, marketable, scalable. And when you pair that with ongoing self-improvement, you're creating a winning formula for long-term success. The fourth step of building a 70K or more HR consultancy is lead gen. So let's talk about lead gen. This is an area where a lot of HR consultants, they struggle because they think posting on LinkedIn and sending out an occasional email, they think that's enough to keep the pipeline full. But let me tell you, it isn't. The truth is, lead gen is the lifeblood of your consultancy, and you need to treat it that way. Once you've got the first 3 steps sorted, it is time to concentrate on lead gen. Lead gen is a non-negotiable. You should be doing it every week, every day. So my advice would be to choose one lead gen method that aligns with who you are, your audience, and then absolutely master that method. So maybe it's direct outreach on LinkedIn. Maybe it's hosting webinars. Maybe it's creating content that attracts people organically. Whatever it is, focus on it, commit to it, make it part of your routine, nail it, become the number one HR consultant of that lead gen method. So, for example, if LinkedIn outreach is your method, then set yourself a goal, like reaching out to 50 potential leads a week. And don't stop until you hit that number. Consistency, disciplinary, that's key here. Lead gen isn't about dabbling in a bit of everything. You need a focused strategy and the discipline to follow through on it. Here's another important point. Play to your strengths. Lead gen doesn't have to be something you hate doing. If cold calling isn't your thing, then don't do it. But if it is your thing, then lean into it. Become the best cold caller in the space. And if you'd rather just send out lumpy mail, then use a more personal touch to warm up your leads before picking up the phone. Alternatively, if networking is more your speed, then get your elevator pitch nailed down and start showing up where your audience is. The method you choose, whatever it is, that should be the one that you're most comfortable with and the one that fits your personality and skills. So find your strength and leverage it. But that's just half the story, right? Generating leads is great, but not all leads are created equal. So just because somebody shows interest in doesn't mean they're ready to invest. That doesn't even mean that they're a good fit for who you are and what you do. You need to qualify your leads. You need to ask them questions like, is this the kind of client I want to work with? Are they the right person to invest in my services? Do I want to work with them? Do I like what they're doing? Can I help them? Are they ready and willing to invest? There's no point jumping onto a call every time someone downloads your lead magnet and clicks their fingers and says, hello, I might be interested in what you've got to do. This is a quick way to waste your time and theirs. So instead, focus on the ones who are serious about working with you. Send them a few messages, find out who they are, what they're doing, and then start thinking about setting up a call. This way, you end up spending your time on higher quality leads, people who are more likely to become clients and more likely to value what you bring to the table. So, as I say, a simple way to do this is to ask some questions before you start to schedule a call. Get the key information up front, and that will help you decide if getting on a call is worth your time. So some things that you could think about, what provokes you to get in touch today? Or what's your current business challenge? What kind of HR support are you looking for? Do you have a budget in mind? How soon are you looking to solve this problem? All these good questions, some basic fact finding before you even jump on a call. And maybe you might feel like you would send out these questions, but might not come across in the best way possible. Something that you might want to consider is doing a quick video, record yourself on Loom, send over the video, say, hey, thanks for your message. Just before we potentially move forward with the next steps, what is it that you're looking for? Blah, blah, blah. And, as I say, that will help you stop wasting time with people who aren't going to invest in your services, who are just sending out a little message just to find out what the situation is. Overall, remember that lead gen is a numbers game. You need to set targets. You need to stick to them. So whether it's reaching out to 50 people a week, attending 2 networking events, or publishing content three times a week, whatever it is, the goal is to create consistent momentum. Be disciplined. Be structured. Don't wait for leads to come to you. Go out there and get them. If you want to know more about lead gen, then check out some of the podcasts which I've released before. So we've got Lumpy Mail, we've got networking, we've got cold calling, all that good stuff. It is all there already. The next step when it comes to building a 70K or more HR consultancy is learning to sell. So I know a lot of HR consultants, they get uncomfortable with the idea of selling, but here's the thing. It's not as difficult as you think it is. Selling is simply about understanding where your prospect is, where your prospect wants to get to, what's stopping them crossing that bridge, what they've tried, why it didn't work, and then presenting to them a solution that will fill that gap for them. It's basically about showing them your solution will solve their problem. But let's take it a step further. Selling isn't about convincing someone to buy. It's about helping them to come to the right decision that's in their best interests. So the more you shift your mindset from I need to sell to I need to help, the easier sales gets. How do you do this? Firstly, it's about asking the right questions. So to do this, ask them questions, really good questions. Ask them where they are in the business, what they're struggling with, what they've tried, and why that hasn't worked. Then ask them about where they want to get to, what's stopping them getting there, and why previous efforts have failed. The process is critical. It builds trust. It's not about pushing your solution right away. Instead, you're showing empathy and creating an environment where the prospect feels heard. The more they talk about the problems, the more they realize that they need a solution. And that's where you position your service as the answer. An additional strategy is to gather all the information about where they are and where they want to get to, and then point out the gap between the two. They need to see it, and without your help, they'll continue to struggle that gap because they won't be aware of it, right? So this opens up their eyes to the situation, and then it opens up their eyes to the value that you can provide. And because if they can't solve this problem on their own, then it is your responsibility, if you can help them, to point out your solution to them. You can say something along the lines of, from what you've told me, it seems like the gap between where you are, blah, 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 where you want to be, blah, 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 is pretty significant. Here's how I might, if you want, let me know. I can present a solution to you. What do you want to do next? Ask their permission to show them your solution. Then you show in their solution. You've given them control, and then you're going to become a problem solver. It's not just about selling. Another step with sales is understanding the emotional decision, the emotional situation that the lead finds themselves in. Because people buy with emotion, right? They justify it with logic afterwards. And this is key because no one needs what you're selling, whether it's HR services, the latest iPhone, or even a book. They want it because they believe it will improve their lives, make their business run smoother, or relieve some sort of pain point that they have. So your job is to tap into that emotional side. Ask questions that get them talking about these unresolved problems and how they make them feel. Are they stressed? Are they frustrated? Are they worried? Are they up all night, tearing their hair out with these problematic employees? And when you understand those emotional pain points, you can frame your solution as something that will relieve those emotions and make their life easier. For example, instead of just saying my leadership program will help your managers perform better, you could frame it as I can help take the stress off your plate by ensuring your managers are trained to handle difficult situations. So you don't have to intervene as much. Now you're selling peace of mind, not just training. The fourth step in sales to consider is overcoming objections. Handling objections, that's a critical point of selling. Most people are very comfortable staying in their current state, even though it's not ideal. Change feels risky, right? We don't understand what's going to happen. Change is when things start to change. And, as much as we don't like the situation that we're in, better the devil you know. So if your prospect has already told you that they need your solution, then it's your responsibility to help them make the right decision to invest in your solution. And when they raise objections like, I need to think about it, or I'm not sure if I have the budget, it's often just fear talking. You often just need to understand what they're talking about and then get them to unpackage it. And then again, handle that objection, present your solution one more time. So here's a useful technique. Remind them of the consequences of inaction. What happens if nothing changes? How will this problem impact you 6 months from now if it isn't fixed? This forces them to confront the solution, the cost of doing nothing, which can sometimes be greater than the cost of investing in your solution. Now, I know what you might be thinking right now. Well, I think that I know what you might be thinking now. A lot of HR consultants, they rely on sending proposals after a conversation. But I'd ask you, what's better, selling your solution or proposing one? Which is more active? Which is more likely to get a yes? Proposals are passive. They put the decision entirely in your client's hands. They often end up sitting in someone's inbox for weeks. It's a proposal. It's not a solution. So when you actively sell during a conversation, you're guiding your client toward a decision in real time. You're addressing their concerns, you're handling their objections, you're helping them emotionally commit to a solution before you send over your proposal, your T's and C's, however it is that you get them to pay. People need to be led to a decision, and when you take control of the conversation, you're more likely to close the sale on the spot. The final thing to remember is that selling is helping. You're not pushing someone to buy something that they don't need. You're providing a solution that will make their life easier. So if you genuinely believe in the value of your service, they're not offering it to someone who is in need of it. That's a disservice. You're doing them a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing their employees a disservice. So get comfortable with the idea that sales is simply another way to serve your clients. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes. The sixth step in building a 70K HR consultancy is what I call no sales marketing. This is about when you have a lead, but you don't end up making the sale. So either they're on your mailing list or they've visited your website or, however it is that you've come to have this person's contact details, but they are not a client yet. So this is about nurturing your relationship with them, providing them with value over time because you haven't yet converted them from a lead into a client. So this is about building trust, it's about building authority, and it's about positioning yourself as the go-to HR consultant for when they're ready to invest. So how do you do this? Well, firstly, when you're emailing, you want to send out educational and entertaining content. So one of the most effective ways to engage your audience is via email. And instead of sending hard sell messages that people just delete and move on with their day, focus on crafting educational and entertaining stories that resonate with your readers. Share insights, share tips, share anecdotes that help them build a better business. For instance, you might want to write about a common challenge that your audience faces, and then share a personal story about how you helped a client overcome a similar obstacle. This not only provides valuable information, but also helps humanize your brand. It makes you more relatable. And when your audience feels like they're learning from someone without being pressured to buy, they're more likely to engage with your content and see you as an expert in your field. Another fantastic way to practice no sales marketing is to invite your audience to any free events you're hosting. These could be webinars, workshops, or even casual meets and greets. When you invite them to participate in something valuable, you show that you care about their growth and success. You could say, I'm hosting a free webinar on handling disciplinaries. I'd love for you to join. And then you share some more information, obviously, to help them understand the benefits of that. But that's the idea. This not only provides them with valuable knowledge, but it also keeps you on their radar for when they're ready to take the next step and invest in your HR solutions. You also want to consider sharing valuable resources that you create, such as blogs, podcasts, and downloadable materials. Whenever you publish a new blog or a podcast or whatever, send it to your email list, highlighting the key takeaways and why they should check it out. For example, you might just write, I've just released a new podcast episode where I discuss the importance of having a signature offer. If you're curious about how this can elevate your HR consultancy, give it a listen. So that's something I would send, but you can consider sending something very similar. By consistently sharing resources, you're going to provide ongoing value that nurtures your audience. It also establishes you as a thought leader, right? It makes them more likely they'll think of you when they need your services. Lastly, don't hesitate to reach out to your audience occasionally to check in and to provoke sales conversations. Simple email along the lines of, hey, name, how's business these days? Hey, name, if you could change one thing in your business right now, what would it be and why? This can be, a really engaging message, very low-key method of selling. What you're doing is you're provoking a conversation that invites them to reply and share where they're at. Then, you can get into a potential sales conversation. The seventh and final step for building a 70K or more HR consultancy is something I call post-sales marketing. Now, this is a crucial but often overlooked step. Many HR consultants think their work is done once the project is finished, but in reality, this is just the beginning of your relationship with your client. The first thing you want to focus on is making sure that you've met your client's expectations. So one effective way to do this is to ask them to rate your service on a scale of 1 to 10. If they rate you 8 or higher, then you're on the right track. But anything lower than that, there's room for improvement. So if there is room for improvement, then it's time for you to decide whether or not it's time for you to get to work or never work with that client again because they're difficult and awkward. You'll have to make that judgment. That's not something I can advise on right now. The second thing to think about is collecting reviews and recommendations. So positive feedback, that's incredibly invaluable for your HR consultancy. So when a client is happy with your work, don't hesitate to ask them for a review. Something simple like, if you've enjoyed working with me, I'd really appreciate it if you could share your thoughts with me on LinkedIn. That can go a hell of a long way to securing more clients for you in the future. Make sure to save a copy of your reviews that you receive, just in case something happens to your account, to your LinkedIn account. This way, you'll always have a backup of your client testimonials. The third thing to think about is asking for referrals. Referrals are a very powerful tool for growing your business. So if a client is pleased with your work, don't be afraid to ask them if they know of anyone else who might benefit from your services. A simple, if you know anyone else who might need my help, I'd be grateful if you could pass along my name. That can open doors to all sorts of opportunities. And referrals are like gold because they come with built-in trust, making them one of the most effective ways to expand your client base without spending on ads. It's basically one friend saying to another friend, you can trust Stephanie, she knows what she's talking about. Lastly, take the time to create customer success stories after completing a project. So these are case studies that outline the work that you did, the challenges your client faced, the results they achieved. For example, you helped a company improve their onboarding process, right? So what had they done? What had they tried before they got to you? How did that make them feel? Then they found you. What did you do? What was the result? All that good stuff. Have a beginning, have a middle, have an end. Great story. This helps over clients understand the value that you offer, and it helps them see themselves in those shoes. They say, listen, if Stephanie could help them achieve that, that's the world that I'm in. That means Stephanie could, in theory, help me. So they not only showcase these customer success stories, they not only showcase your expertise, but they also give potential clients a concrete idea of what you can achieve for them. Overall, by focusing on post-sales marketing through feedback, reviews, referrals, customer success stories, all that good stuff, you strengthen client relationships and you build a reputation that attracts even more business. And that's it. Those are the 7 steps you need to take to build a 70K or more HR consultancy. I've thrown a hell of a lot of information at you, but I've barely scratched the surface. In fact, there's actually some stuff that I've not even talked about. I've not talked about positioning. I've not talked about your website. I've not talked about LinkedIn. I've not talked about sales and lead gen funnels. There's loads of stuff that I've not really talked about, but the idea of today's podcast is that you understand that there are 7 steps, there are 7 areas that you need to concentrate on when it comes to building a market-leading consultancy, so that you stand out from the crowd, you sign those higher paying clients, and you have a plan of what to do and how to do it and when to do it. Overall, let's look at the key points that we've talked about. It's choosing a target audience, creating attention-grabbing messages, developing your service, mastering lead gen, learning to sell, utilizing the no-sales marketing, then the post-sales marketing. So those are the 7 steps that you need to take. Now, if you want to dive deeper into any of these strategies and get more practical advice, then grab a copy of my book, How to Land Your Dream Client. It's over at my website. It's packed with actionable tips that will help you land those high-value clients and grow your HR consultancy. Equally, you'll be on my mailing list where I send out those fun and interesting stories that help you grow your HR consultancy for free. Alternatively, if you want some support to build your 70k HR consultancy faster and stronger than your peers, then head on over to my website and register your interest. I'll put my arm around your shoulder, roll my sleeves up, get down into the dirt with you and help you build your business that earns 70k or more, that wins awards, and that stands out from the mass of other HR consultancies out there so that when leads come to you, they say, hey, you're the HR consultant I need. In the meantime, as ever, get marketing, because without marketing, there's no sales. And without sales, there's no business. So get marketing. Hey there, and thanks for listening to the Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultant podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, then please consider taking a moment to help us grow by sharing the episode with a friend or colleague, or by leaving a positive review on podchaser.com. And make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming episodes. I've been your host, Nick Paninsky, and if you have any questions or want to know more about today's topic, then reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be delighted to hear from you. See you next time.